You ready for this deal, Jimbo?
Bring it.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, located in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Hey, it's old Cody over here. And as always, I have my main man with me, Mr. Rodeo Historian himself, Jimbo Snively. Good morning, Jimbo. Good to see you. Who do we have today?
Hey, Cody, boy, it's good to see you, and it's just another great day in Osage. And Cody, we've got Mr. Danny Lemmons with us today, the famous Danny Lemmons. He's been a PBR bull contractor. He's a Lenapah legend, rodeo legend.
Alumni.
Sure. Yeah, alumni and a rodeo legend for sure. He's a protege of the great Buck Rutherford. I've heard he's just one of the toughest guys that ever come out of this part of the country. He played hurt, let's put it that way, for sure. And I've heard more stories on him than you can imagine, and all of them good. But he's an interesting guy, and we're just happy to have him. Danny, welcome to the Cowboys of the Osage podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
We're glad to have you. Where'd you grow up at, Danny?
Copan, Oklahoma.
Wow, there's quite a bit of cowboys up there, isn't there?
There's a lot of cowboys.
You probably knew all of them.
Yes, every one of them.
What made you want to get into rodeo?
Oh, it was something I liked to do. We started riding calves and horses and bulls and cows. Anything could buck. I run around with Chub Anderson all my life, and we built bucking chutes everywhere in the brush, and would run cows in, get on them, and
Somebody else's cows.
yeah, everybody's cows. His dad's milk cows mostly.
It don't hurt them to buck a little bit.
No, they don't give much milk.
No. Oh. Well,
Chub Anderson. He grew up with Chub Anderson,
yeah, that's a notorious name.
the one and only Chub Anderson.
Yeah.
We got a
I've heard of him. He's been in the news a little bit, hasn't he?
we got a display to him here in the museum
Right.
in our outlaw section. He's in our outlaw section.
Yeah, he wasn't that much of an outlaw around us.
Yeah.
What kind of guy was old Chub to grow up around?
Joe was a great friend. He could do it all. He could ride a bull and bronc good as anybody, but he didn't like rodeoing. He'd rather go hunting or fishing.
Right.
But
We have I have a business card of his and a check of his from when he was on the run up in Montana, and he was doing a fishing and hunting guide service up there, and also building some pens and things up there.
that's how he got cancer.
He said he could weld anything but a broken heart on his business card, I think's what it said.
He was a good welder, a good fabricator. Build those barns. You said you knew another good friend of mine, Lonnie Brown.
Knew Lonnie, ate breakfast with Lonnie. I still eat breakfast every morning with his son,
Yeah.
Lance.
Yeah. Yeah. I worked with him for 3 or 4 years and really thought a lot of him.
Yeah, he lived 2 miles from me.
Yeah. He taught me a lot.
Did Chubb keep in any kind of contact with you when he was on the lam?
Not too much. He was when he moved back to Caney, Kansas. I went up and visited him a lot and ate breakfast with him a lot. And he told me a lot of things, showed me a lot of pictures. He had where he lived up there. He had a wagon, and he kept enough hay and feed in it for his horses. And whenever the law come to town, he'd hook up the team of horses and they'd drive out in the wood, that forest. He was right on the edge of a forest, and he'd drive out there and stay for 3 or 4 weeks till they'd notify him that they were gone, and he'd come back where he lived.
Oh, do you know Margaret Bird, the lady that helped take care of him there
Yes.
towards the end?
Yes.
She brought a bunch of his stuff over, and I have one of his coats from when he was up in Montana, and it still has some of his gray hair in the collar of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He was.
I still wish they'd make a movie about that. Surely they will. It's just too good a story.
Well, if you have used a real story, it might be kind of bland, but
Yeah. Well, Hollywood's not good at that, though.
right, they dressed it up.
Right. For sure.
Well, what a famous murder mystery around here.
Oh, yeah. Well, who are some of the cowboys you looked up to? Who got you started?
Buck Rutherford.
Well, there's another infamous name.
Wow. The one and only Buck Rutherford.
What kind of guy was he, Danny?
Buck was very, very good. He could teach you how to do things, and Buck was very stout, a big stout individual. And,
Had the biggest hands
yeah,
anybody I
And,
ever seen.
he taught me how to. He put me on my first bucking horse,
Right.
and
How many times did Buck win the world?
He was all-around champion,
once.
54.
Wasn't he bareback champion one year?
No,
too?
but he got right up to the edge
He was
of it.
runner-up once. He finished in the top 5 in various events like 11 times.
Yeah,
If he hadn't have
right.
had those car wrecks and had so much fun as he did, if he'd have really tended to business, he no telling how many all-arounds he might have won.
He drank too much water. That killed him off.
Yeah. He liked the girls, too.
He rode bulls too, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he rode everything. He did all of them.
Yeah. He was sure enough an all-around hand.
We got his Cheyenne Frontier Days wild Brammer bull riding saddle in the back there, Jimbo.
Right.
Won by Buck Rutherford. Holy moly. I heard he used to hang out in this area a little bit too, old Buck.
Did he?
With,
I'm sure he did.
Well, we heard tell of him hanging out here with, who was it, Okanagan?
Oh, Okanagan Paul. Did you ever know him? Ever heard of that?
No,
Yeah.
there was an Indian boy that stayed with him for a long time, and Dick Llewellyn stayed with him a long time. They had a boy named Coyote Kid Perry that rode saddle broncs, and he stayed with Buck a long time. But
Coyote Kid Perry. That's the name, isn't it?
Well, Kelly Corbin told me about him one time, and when he'd get off at whatever he's riding, wouldn't he howl like a coyote
right,
in the middle of the arena, like oh, because the arena the announcer would say, "Let's hear that coyote call, coyote," or something like that.
right, and he'd get on a lot of mount outs for $2 or $3. If they didn't have enough to fill the books, he'd get on for them, and he didn't care how bad it was. We were at Ponca City at that rodeo, and he had a horse called Megaton. It was really a rank old horse, and he come to me, and he had a gunny sack, had about 5 or 6 inches of dirt in it. And he said, Danny said, I want you to get out in front of this horse, I need to make her break. He said, if she'll break, he said, I can get in time with her and win the bronc riding. So I said, okay. So I got out in front of the chutes and wound it up, and he nodded, and here come old Megaton, and I throwed it, and she throwed her head down, and I hit him right in the chest, knocked him over backwards. he got up and he said, I was going to win the bronc riding if you had to hit me in the chest.
What was that old story with Buck Rutherford and Okanagan around here in Fairfax? When they were living in a teepee or something? I don't even remember.
Oh, it was over there at Bobby Donaldson's, and there's no telling what was going on over there. There's something about a teepee and a Willard Combs. I can't even remember the whole story, Cody. It was
In a rifle.
yeah, and a rifle and getting shot at.
Yeah, a bad horse trade or something.
Yeah, it's some kind of a bad horse that went bad with Willard Combs, and they had to leave the teepee, I think.
Willard and Benny had an awful good horse, bulldogging horse,
Right.
that baby doll.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a famous bulldogging horse right there. If I've ever heard of one.
That horse was in Life magazine.
Right. Yep.
I've still got the article there at the house.
Yep.
Was Buck still actively riding when you came along?
No, he was going to a few, but not very many. He'd come over to Copance Arena and bring a bucking horse over there, and I'd get on it for him, and that's how I got started riding bucking horses, was him coaching me and teaching me how.
Did he tell you any good rodeo stories?
Not that can be mentioned any.
Not even one that can be mentioned?
Oh, no, I better not.
So what happened to him? What actually happened to Buck Rutherford?
Alcohol.
Alcohol got him, and what else got him as far as what crippled him up so bad?
Well, he had a bad car wreck, and that did him in, and then he had a little comeback and got to drinking real heavy, and it got him. And then he had a brother, Earl, that was a champion boxer, and Earl lived till about 2 years ago. And we'd go up to Earl, and he'd come down to our house and kind of help me coach my boy. He boxed.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one story. Somebody whipped Buck somewhere. I forget where it was, down in Fort Worth or somewhere. And Buck said, well, you might whip me, but you can't whip my brother. And he called his brother, and his brother come down there and whipped him.
Right.
Well, I wish I had a tough brother. I got whipped one time in Fort Worth.
Yeah, you didn't have anybody call him.
No, I didn't have no one to call Jimbo. Wish I had his brother's number or something.
Right.
That Fort Worth could be a rough part of town sometimes.
I'd say so. Cowtown.
Yeah, especially when you're feeling 7 foot tall and bulletproof, too.
Right.
No doubt about it.
Well, tell us about that Lena Paul Rodeo, Danny. How'd that get started?
Show Webster, I imagine, and Buck. There was, at one time, it was called the cowboy capital of the world.
Right.
There was supposedly 6 world champions from Lena Paul.
Right.
But Choate and Buck was only 2 that I really knew.
Well, they claimed Everett Shaw, too. You know, he
Everett
lived there.
Shaw, for a little while.
Before he went to...
Who else would that be? Fred Lowry, possibly?
Fred Lowry and Slim, No Water Slim.
No Water Slim.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they called it they had a sign up out there, Cowboy Capital of the World.
Well, was that arena always, had it been there a long time, or did they put it together for the rodeo?
Well, it was put together for the rodeo, but it was a huge jerk down steer roping arena.
Was it on Lowry land? But did it belong? Okay, that's what I always, because it's right below Schultz's house.
Yeah, well, see, Choate married to Lowry.
Sure.
And that was back when they roped steers. That was, fun to watch rope.
Right.
As big as the horses.
Right.
But
I think 59, was the first year they had the rodeo over there.
I don't know, but it was built into the side of a hill, and you just drove in and parked and sat in your car.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It was like a drive-in movie show.
Right.
But they had about 4 sections or 5 on the west side that you could drive in, and I started riding there, I don't know, early in life.
Right.
Buck and Choate both would pay my entry fees if I'd just come over and enter.
Right.
And I rode, that's where I got on my first saddle broncs. And Hoss Inman brought the horses down, and Choate called me and said, Danny, would you get in the bronc ride? And I said, I don't know, I don't ride broncs. And he said, well, we got a bronc saddle for you. And he said, Hoss Inman's just bringing a bunch of big colts down. And he said, they'll just hop, skip, and jump across the pen. So I said, okay, put me in it. So
Nothing can go wrong there. That don't sound
I rode
bad.
4 horses in 4 days. All of them had been to national finals. I had Sand and Sage, Blue Goose, Solid Comfort, and Jesse James.
How'd it work out?
Well, I got 1 road out of 4, and won a round on him. But the other 3 throwed me off so hard that I couldn't get my air. Jesse James really bucked me off hard.
I imagine.
He was a bucking horse of the year.
Right.
Reared out, and then run and duck back.
Well, what kind of guy was Shope?
Joe was a good old boy, tough.
He's tough. Wasn't
Oh, tougher. My daughter and son both worked for him, and my son couldn't work for him. He said, "Dad, I just can't work for him." He said, "I ain't gonna do the things he wants to do."
But he'd do them too, wouldn't he? I
Yeah.
mean, he wouldn't ask you to do something he wouldn't do.
Yeah, right. And so my daughter, he called her Sis, and he'd rope them colts and drag them into them starting gates on the hill, and she'd get on them, and they'd run around that little old track. And once he had a match race from two guys from Salisaw, and they brought their horses over, and they went to a track right there at Delaware. I don't know how big it was, but it wasn't a large track, but it'd hold about 4 horses, and they had the gates. And Shope took a horse he called Kettle and Thermos down there, and that horse could run. He'd run on the track, and he put my daughter on it, and they brought 2 jockeys with their horses from Salisaw, and Ginger, she outrun them. But boy, it was a horse race.
Wow.
Wonder how much money was on the line on that one.
I don't know. They never did say. Shope never would say. He just said, "We'll get their money." That's all he said.
Shope was a real cowboy. He could do about anything, couldn't he?
Yeah. He had that triangle arena there at his house. You know, he'd rope steers, and they'd go to one way or the other, and pin them there, and then rope them back. And
He went through a lot of cattle and a lot of horses over there practicing.
Yeah, and big cattle.
Yeah.
So what's this triangle arena again? I didn't. You got to explain it to me one more time, Danny.
It was built like a triangle.
Okay.
Three corners.
Okay.
And you'd rope a steer, and the catch pin was where he went.
Okay.
And then you'd rope him back out.
Oh, heck.
You had a gate there.
Never even had to bring them back, Jimbo.
Right.
Yeah.
You just rope them right back from where they're at.
Right.
I like it.
Shoot, yeah.
And he roped every day.
Yeah.
How many would he tie down in a day, or would he tie down that many?
He tied them all down. He didn't. There wasn't none of that.
He didn't break away or nothing?
I never seen him break away on a steer.
He had the cattle to do. Most guys couldn't do that, but he had the cattle and the horses.
How many horses would he rope on in a day?
Oh, he'd have 10 horses tied up out there, and he roped on all of them. Joe was a good horseman.
Who all would be there practicing with Shope sometimes?
Most of the time it was him. He roped mostly by himself. He'd get one of his hands to help him. So just turn him out, and he'd go rope. Sometimes Shirley would be out there turning them out.
Who were some of the guys that came through over there that worked for him?
You know, I didn't know too many of the cowboys that worked for him.
Yeah.
There was a lot of them, but most of them couldn't stay up with him.
Right. I heard he unloaded a rail car full of oats one time with a scoop shovel. Never picked his head up till he got it empty.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah, because he was that tough. He stout, very stout.
Right. And, if he'd have been big, he'd have been dangerous, wouldn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I seen him right out here at the Ben Johnson, roped a steer on a horse called Milligan's Rony.
Yeah, gray horse.
Yeah. He roped this steer, and that steer went up in the air and come down, stuck its horns right in the mud, and just jerked that horse right down on its haunches. And Shope run down the rope, tied it, and I think may have won the go-around.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to see Peanuts or Popcorn go, or was that before your time?
That was before my time. I've seen pictures of them.
Well, they were a set of good horses there, weren't they, Jimbo?
Yeah, for sure.
What happened to Peanuts and Popcorn?
One of them got killed in a car wreck.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one.
Yeah, that was one Shote had, Popcorn.
Didn't he say the trailer came unhooked?
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah.
What used to cause that? Used to happen all the time. What causes that, Jimbo, on them old trailers?
Well, I don't know unless just hitch gets wore, it gets a little slack in and gets wore. But heck, some of them had bolts in them, just to drop through the bumper. And
Oh,
that kind
yeah.
of stuff,
Pin hitches.
That's what your grandpa rodeoed in,
Well,
isn't it?
that's what that trailer's got on it now, that old trailer.
Wow.
But, yeah, they had a lot of trailer wrecks back then. Bad.
Well, they used to have a big Calcutta at that Lenapah roping, didn't
Right.
they?
Right.
I bet they did anyway.
Yeah, no doubt. I remember going to it, probably the early 60s, the first memory I've got of it.
When me and my wife were first married, we'd come over to it, and even after we had our kids, and we'd sit north of the grandstand there and put a blanket up, sit there and eat our lunch, and watch the whole roping. And last time I come over to it, you couldn't find a place in there to even sit down on that slope.
What about No What a Slim? I don't know that much about that guy.
I didn't know him. His name was on that billboard down there at Lenapah, but
You know
really don't
anything about him?
Very little, Cody. Just he claimed some world championships. Some of the back in the day before they were, you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. Fred Lowry. There's another one. There's 4. We got Buck, Shote, Nowata, Fred,
Everett Shaw.
Everett Shaw. There's 5. Who's the 6th one?
I think there's 5 is what there was.
5.
Yeah.
Fred Lowry. Boy, that guy, he kind of was an innovator, it seemed like to me, on teaching people
Well,
about
I
the
think
art
you
of steer
taught
roping.
Choate.
And Everett Shaw. Taught Everett Shaw
Yeah.
a lot over there, I think.
I heard Shote in his book say that Fred had one of the first roping dummies ever invented. Big old Mexican steer horns that
Big
he
old
had.
wide horn. I bet they're wide, too.
Yeah, they had them out in the yard and he would rope them. And he said that was the first roping dummy that he had ever saw.
I think I've seen a picture of those horns.
So he might have invented the first roping dummy. That's what Shote
He had the
claimed.
first nylon ropes. Remember, I've told you that story.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That guy must have been a heck of a good roper and a good teacher, though, because it seemed like he taught a lot of guys that became pretty big-time ropers.
Yeah. And he knew a good horse when he saw it.
Made a lot of good horses over there.
Yeah.
That's just some good cowboy country over there.
Oh, yeah. Still is.
Still is, isn't it?
Some good grass country over there.
No doubt about it. No water. What a historic little Lenapah. I mean, what a
Lenapah.
historic rodeo town. No water too. There's
All right, Delaware. There's another
a lot
little
of greats
town called
coming.
Delaware.
Yep, come right through this area.
But how many times you ride over there? How many years? Different years?
Oh, I don't know. A bunch.
Once you got started, you
Yeah.
just all of them.
Yeah, I went for. Well, when my kids were just born, I took my son over there. He was 3 or 2.5. And I set him up in the bleachers, and I was in all 3 riding events. And I give him a popcorn and a pop. Told him I'd be back when the rodeo was over. And I rode a pretty good bull and I think a pretty good bareback horse. But as soon as the bull riding was over, I got in my pickup and headed for home. And I got to Warren, Oklahoma, and I remembered I left that kid there. So I had to U-turn and go back, and he was still sitting up in the bleachers where I set him. And he said, "Dad, I knew you'd come back."
Sooner or later.
My grandpa did that to me at the horse sale one time. I didn't know it, though. I didn't know it. The horse sale people called my mom. She got mad. This is before cell phones or anything.
Right.
My wife didn't know this till about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, you didn't. You forgot to tell her that, did you?
Yeah.
Probably a good idea. She wouldn't let you take him anywhere.
I had to go take my bull rope off the bull in the back, son. That took a while.
Yeah, there you go. Did you do any bulldogging?
Yes.
Yeah. I heard one story that over there, that maybe Buck Rutherford's horse stepped on your head or something
Yeah.
and hurt you, and you had your head all wrapped up in towel and bandages, and then you had to go ride a bull. And you got on a bull like
Yeah.
that. And the crowd up there is flashing their lights, up on the side of the hill. It's usually really a crowd favorite.
Yeah, we had a lot of wrecks in those days.
What's the most amount of stock you got on there during the rodeo? I heard you used to mount a few of them out besides the ones you got entered on.
Well,
besides the one you were entered on.
Ponca City was where I got on the most. Buck was judging it, and he talked me into hauling him over there. He said, you can get on some good mount-out stock. Ellery Butler had it. So I went over there, and so he told Ellery, he said, Danny will get on all your mount-outs. So I got on, I think, 2 bareback horses and a saddle bronc and a bull. Maybe a run. I seemed like I run a bulldog and steer, too. And next night, I did that. There was a 4-night rodeo. I did it for 4 nights, and the last night, Ellery Butler come up to me and he said, son, you're getting rich at this rodeo. I said, how am I getting rich? He said, well, I'm giving Buck your mount-out money. I said, well, you know, I haven't seen that mount-out money. So I asked Buck, I said, Buck, Ellery said he giving you my mount-out money. Buck said, oh, you know, Danny, it takes something to travel. I said, yeah, you're driving my car.
He's learning you the ropes, man.
Yep, breaking you in. Well, what killed that Lena Paul Rodeo off? Why did it end?
You know, people just, Buck was gone and Choke was gone, and they were the ones that pushed it.
Yeah.
And they knew the stock contractors. It just finally just dwindled away. Yeah. There's an old arena. Somebody's put one in there, but it doesn't have any buck and shoots or.
So they tore the old stuff down.
They tore everything down.
I haven't been over there in 30 years.
Yeah, it was a good old arena, but it was made for steer roping.
Right.
I think we got maybe the all-around saddle from the first one back there, I think.
Right. Well, Jim
Merle
won
Davis.
Jim won it the first year, but he didn't get a saddle at 59. I've got the newspaper article, but if he got a saddle, he got rid of it. But we've got the 61 saddle here. You know, it's a Monroe Veach, the Veach saddle there in the saddle.
I was talking about the saddle we have from Jim Davis's dad, Merle, back there.
Yeah.
And it's from Lenapah all around.
Was it the first year?
It's the all around. I don't know, but it's got to be pretty close to that first year.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it. I've seen that saddle.
With his.
So I was thinking maybe they didn't give saddle first year because I know I never did see a 59 saddle. I know Jim won it in 59. So I don't know.
I know Clem McSpadden did the announcing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, always announced.
Yeah, he was a very super good announcer.
Do you know Clem pretty good?
Yeah. I got on so many head that one day down there, Clem said, Danny, I'll buy you a saddle if you will not get on anymore.
You live over. Oh, I'm sorry, Jimbo.
No, go ahead. I was just. Cody, wouldn't it have been neat to have the Cowboy Channel back then or have this on film, you know?
Well, probably no one thought about it. They thought they'd always have another one next year, and they'll film it next year, Jimbo, is what they probably always thought.
They didn't have the equipment. I mean, you know, I saw some old 8mm the other day from over there, and it was just poor. You know, just quality wasn't that good. You couldn't tell who anybody was or anything, but wouldn't it have been cool to have that on good video or whatever? It
was the best of the best every time.
Yeah.
Steer open anyway.
Right, steer open. But who were some of the good hands that would come there for the rough stock? Were some of the good ones come?
Yeah, I was trying to think of that boy's name that rode bulls, but he'd been to finals every year. Freckles was there.
Yeah.
Freckles broke his leg there, and he had one of those old big cars, and I helped him out to his car, and we got an ice bag and packed his foot in ice, and he drove on home.
Right.
With a broken leg.
Yeah, he said they'd operate on it when he got home.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do it up here. So.
Didn't want to do it at Lenapah, did he?
Well,
probably a good idea.
Yeah, you think it's any better down there in Idabel or wherever he was at?
May not have been.
Holy moly.
Joe Green was always in the bull riding. That one year I beat him. He rode Black 8 of Willie Mandel, had the bulls, and he rode him, and I had the freight train of Willie's, and I got him. And Joe was a very good bull rider.
I always heard he was really good.
He was a good steer roper too.
Yeah, made himself, a good steer roper. Just worked at it till he got pretty good at steer roping. But bull riding was his main event, though.
Oh yeah, I used to know him. He used to pull a little 1-horse trailer around that said "Mean Joe Green, Sulphur, Oklahoma."
Yep.
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Made the first national finals, bull riding.
Yeah, sure did.
He was a good guy. I sure miss old Joe.
I know.
I talked to his boy Rendon quite a bit. No, not quite a bit. Seems like quite a bit.
Yeah.
Once a year, maybe.
Very likable guy.
But in the cowboy world, you can talk to one of your friends once a year, once every couple of years, and it's like you never skipped a beat.
Right. How many head of stock you think you got on over at Lenapah? What would you guess?
In one night?
No, just in your whole career.
Oh, I don't know. Gobs. Just either mount outs or entered.
How was that ground over there? Was it pretty hard?
No, well, he got the hard in a lot of places I hit. But them old saddle broncs, boy, they'd bring you from way up there.
Yeah.
And crash you. Eddie Costell, he helped me once on a bull over there. And I seen him messing with my rope after I put the rope on the bull. And I said, Eddie, you know this bull? He said, yeah. He goes right out about the middle of the pen, and that was a big arena. And he said he'll sit there and just spin up a storm. And then he said he'll hook you all the way to bucking chutes. So I said, okay. So Eddie, he run a baling wire through my rope, made a loop, and I felt him messing with my boot, and he stuck that spur in that loop. Well, I nodded my head, and out through there we went. Got pretty good, and that bull went to spinning out there, and the whistle blowed, and I just stepped off. I hadn't even thought about that spur still being hooked in that rope. Oh, he drug me around and hooked me. I spent a while getting the air pumped back in me.
Good thing bull riding was the last event,
Yep.
didn't it?
You ever seen Money the Hard Way over there at the prison rodeo, Jimbo?
Oh, yeah, lots of times.
Holy moly. Tell everybody what that is real quick.
Well, that's where they used to take a bull durham sack full of money and tie it between the bull's horns, and turn the whole, whoever thought they were tough enough or fast enough to get it.
There'd be 100 or 50 convicts out there for sure.
Yeah. Most of them didn't want it that bad, but there was a few. They had one guy that got it so, I heard that he made it so easy, did it so easy, they made him quit doing it.
Yeah, he'd get down and crawl up to that bull.
Is that what he did?
Yeah. And we went down and watched him once. I went with Buck down there, and Buck had big high horned, real sharp horns, Bremer. And he had called Clem McSpadden, told Clem, he said, Clem, I've got this bull. Sure be good in that money the hard way. And my boy had got on him up at Jerry King's place at Juan and pinched his end of his finger off. Got it caught in the gate.
Yeah.
And, and that bull did hook. And so Buck, he belonged to Buck, and Buck said, I think we'll take him to McAlester at that rodeo. And I said, well, okay. So we went down there, took him down there, and he killed one of them convicts down there.
Hey.
And, he run a horn clear through him. He was a bad dude. Now, I don't know whatever happened to him. Buck had him in his corral last I seen of him, and I sure didn't want to round him.
He make you get in there and shoo him into the trailer? How'd y'all get him in there?
They had a good place to load him at McAlester.
Mm-hmm.
But Buck just...
What about when y'all left Lenapah with
Took
him?
him back to the Bucks at Lenapah there and just dumped him out. I imagine he had some of them boys come over and load him for him.
I remember as a kid down at McAlester in a bull. It seemed like about every years to a bull would get loose down there and get out.
In the stands?
Yeah, or in the alleyway.
Oh, I've seen them get up in the stands.
Yeah. I don't know why it was
They'd
down there.
scatter the people.
Yeah.
They used to have some crazy events over there. You know, one time when I was a kid, I used to go to that with my dad every year, and heck, I competed in it quite a few times. And they had a horse, bucking horse. They would strap this wash tub on, Jimbo.
Yeah.
Put this little person, I'm going to say little person, about this tall person, in it. And then they filled it up with flour. On top of it. It's called the Wild Wash Tub Ride, Wash Tub
And
Ride.
they'd hold on to the handles.
Yeah.
They said that ground was always hard down there, too, back then. And it
Well,
just
you know,
killed
they
them
had the timed events were open to the PRCA.
Yeah, it was always a PRCA rodeo.
But the
Time
riding
events.
events was all convicts.
Right.
And they had, I think, 8 bucking chutes, if I remember right. And they'd put a buffalo in one and a bronc in the next one and then a bull and then repeat it.
Sometimes a longhorn steer or something.
And they
in
let
there.
them all out at one time.
The Mad Scramble.
Yeah.
The last one on their animal won that event.
Right.
They turned them all out at the same time. I saw one time they had a bunch of bulls hooked to chariots.
Yeah.
They had a chariot race with
That
bulls.
used to be
But the bull could
event.
spin around in
Yeah.
front of the chariot and run back at it and make
what
it run
they
back and
used
go
to do
backwards.
is get, in the old days, they'd get some big fancy banker or somebody that was prominent in town, and they'd get him to ride in the chariot, and they'd get out there, and then they'd pull that pin, and that would let the bull loose, and there the banker sat in the chariot.
Well, good.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was pretty wild right up in the corner. It's just like that movie Stir Crazy, really, with Richard Pryor. In the corner, they had the big cage where all the convicts, they would let them come watch the rodeo, but it had the razor wire all around the top of it. Up in the other corner, they had the prison band playing up by the concession stand. And it's a big stadium, really. A big stadium right there in McAlester is almost like, I can relate it to maybe Rome, maybe maybe Rome, the old gladiator deal. So they had big murals, one of Freckles Brown and a couple others up there too. It was a big old rodeo. I don't even know if they still have it. I doubt it. I doubt they still have it, but they might.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they just started it back up.
Did they?
Somebody was saying the other day that they'd started it back up.
That is money the hard way for sure. Getting that tobacco sack from between the bull's horns. They just circle around him like in the corner over there, and then it's just like popcorn. He just starts seeing them pop up one by one.
And they'd
the
scatter too when he'd get after them.
Oh yeah.
But there was one guy that could really get it there for a few years, and they made him quit doing it.
I heard he didn't mind getting sent, to the infirmary because it was just like a little vacation. Plus, he got a little money on top of it.
Maybe. It's tough.
It's something else.
Yeah. Tell me that story. You tell me a story about all them Mondo horses one time when Gene Herron.
It was us. I hadn't been married very long, and Gene Herron they drove 125 bucking, them old mares that Mullendore had. Some of them was 20 years old, but they drove them down the highway all the way from Mullendore Ranch to Pawhuska out to Indian Camp. That's where, at the time, Gene Herron lived. And he had a little arena out there and 4 or 5 big pins, and he pinned them, and there was 5 of us supposed to get on these horses. And I don't know how many I got on, but I got on enough that I couldn't walk for 2 or 3 days. And these things, them old mares would buck and fall down, roll over on you. And but we bucked them, and a lot of them went on. Gene sold them to a RCA stock contractor. And they made some good bucking horses, some of the younger mares. But Mullendore just needed to clean the house, and Gene got the deal on them.
And you ended up riding most of them.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you wasn't. I'm not like these guys today. I didn't know you couldn't get on 20 or 30.
Right.
You know, I thought that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And,
Seemed like the more you get on, the better you'll get.
How you gonna learn?
yeah.
I'd rather tie a real steer as a steer rope and dummy.
Right.
Right.
Gene Herron. He was quite the racehorse trainer.
One of the best.
Gene Herron could ride a bucking horse as good as anybody. Had he set his mind to it, he'd have been a world champion. But he just didn't like that road.
Right.
Pretty good roper, too. Made the national finals one time,
Made
didn't
the
he,
national
Jimbo?
finals, 1967. McAlester sure did.
Speaking of McAlester.
Yeah. Speaking of McAlester.
They had is that where they had, I'm sorry to cut you off. Did they have the steer open finals in that prison
Yes,
arena?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
For sure.
No kidding. That's a good place to have it.
Yeah. Didn't draw a lot of crowd. You know, the finals never did draw big crowds back then, but they had all the prisoners up there. You know, you see these old pictures, and the prisoners be lined up, some of them inside, you know, and some of them up in the bleachers, you know.
At least there was someone there to watch them, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. But most of the pictures I've seen from that 67 to 68, there were more prisoners there than there was civilians.
I'm going to say the biggest steer open national finals there ever was, as far as crowd was, had to be right here in Pawhuska.
Probably those first two, in 63 and 64, were the two biggest, I'm going to say. And then they had it again in 71 and 72, and they were pretty nice crowds then. But those 63 and 64, if you ever see some of those pictures, that grandstand was full.
Yeah, I bet it was the biggest steer open final, as far as crowd
Yeah.
there ever was.
It's sure liable to be, and you know, I hadn't even thought of that, but I bet you're right, because they didn't draw that good other places.
I don't know about Veneta.
I was there.
What
in
a great
65.
arena, though, to rope in.
Yeah, yeah.
It's still a historic-looking arena with all those big old covered grandstands wrapping them all the way around the arena.
Yeah. I bet it didn't draw as good as Pawhuska did, because Pawhuska was, well, steer rope capital of the world. You know, they had several Pawhuska people roping in it. You know, Joe always roped in it and stuff. And where Veneta didn't have that hometown appeal back then. So who knows?
Hey, something to think about.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that, but you're probably right.
Throw that on your radar, your
There you
historic radar, Jimbo.
There you go.
Over there where you live, Caney now. There's some pretty good cowboys come from that. Copan. What about old Lon Chaney?
Lon Chaney is not doing too good today, but he had a bale of hay fall on him, one of the big round bales, and he's walking with a cane. But I see him about once a week at the truck stop. Everybody goes to the truck stop and eats. And
Well, be sure and tell him to get his rear up here to Pawhuska. Me and Jimbo's been on him about doing one of these interviews for quite some time.
I'll do it. Yeah.
How'd you get into the bull stock contracting business?
Well, I got boogered up, messed up where I couldn't ride or go. And so I had been taping a bunch of bull ridings when that Bull Riders Only was going, and the PBR just had got started.
Were you cameraman?
No, I just was watching it on television.
Did you know Jerome Robinson very well?
Yes. Yeah. I knew him. He was the arena man at the PBR.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd tell us, okay, you're going to be next in 2 minutes. And in 2 minutes, you better be going. And
Yeah, Jerome, he'd set up all those arenas and them
Yeah,
stadiums and everything. I
set
used to
'em
work
up.
for him as a kid, Jimbo.
check the dirt out, and dirt had to be just so. They'd bring more dirt in if it wasn't just right.
One time we went in there, and there was a hockey ring. We broke up all that hockey ice, and they made us haul it out, and all the dirt in there, and we had a rodeo in there 2 days later, Jimbo.
Wow.
I think they melted the ice is what they did, and then drained it, what they did.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun at the PBR.
How'd you get your first bulls?
Oh, well, my first bull, I got taping these bull ridings. And then I got one day, I was crippled up and couldn't get out. So I got to watching these. I talked to Harry Vogt. I asked him, I said, how do you get a good bull? He said, well, you go borrow somebody's old bucking bull that's quit, and said, get you a bunch of tiger stripe Bremer cows and breed them. And then he said, you might get one good bull out of that bunch. So I thought, well, I'll do that. So I had about 20 old tiger stripe cows, and I was over by Justin McKee's.
Now, what kind of bull would you breed to a tiger stripe cow to get a
Any
good buck
kind.
bull? Any kind.
If he's
okay.
if he's a bucking bull.
Okay.
And I was over and I seen out there along the road, there was a cow stand there, and there was a little white calf, all weighed about 300 pounds, sucking that cow. And I stopped, backed up, looked at that calf, and had a black head, and it was all white, and except for from his knees down, they were black. I thought, boy, that calf's a cool calf. And I decided I wanted a bull out of Splat Kat. Splat Kat I kept watching him in these tapes, and he just kept coming to the front. And so I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna go find a bull calf out of him. So I went up and seen Justin. I said, Justin, you got a little white calf down there sucking a cow. I said, I want to buy it. I said, what is it? He said, that's a Splat Kat calf. I said, really? I said, I sure want to buy him. And he said, oh, I don't want to sell him. He said, he's worth too much money. I said, well, I got $1,000 in my billfold. I'll just give it to you, all of it for him. Oh, no, he said, I couldn't take that. I said, yeah, you can. I said, that's cash money. And so I'd start going back over about every week, and I'd go up. He'd come out, and I'd say, here's 10 $100 bills. I said, I'm going to buy that calf. Oh, he ain't for sale. So finally one day he said, Danny, I'm going to take that calf down to Sperry, Oklahoma. They got a bucking bull sale. And he said, I'm going to take that calf down there. And I said, okay. I said, I'll come down there and take my $1,000 and buy him. He said, he's going to bring a lot more. Well, I got to where I could see the crowd, and I knew that it was just me and Justin a bidding on him. And so I got him to 1,000. I just quit. And they run him on up to about 1,600, 1,700 and quit. When I got ready to leave, Justin hollered at me. He said, Danny, come over to the ranch and get your bull. I said, for 1,000? He said, yep, for 1,000. So I took the bull home and put him in with my kids' show calves and grew him up. He was almost 2 years old, and I entered him at the first ABBI fraternity they ever had. That was at Apache, Oklahoma. And Maury Tate put it on. And I bucked him there, and we won that fraternity. And then I bucked him for 2 or 3 years after that, and in fraternities. And then when he was 3.5, I had him at Amarillo at a fraternity where they put the riders on them. And Cody Lambert was standing beside me, and he picks all the bulls for the national finals, or the PBR finals. And I didn't know Cody from Adam, and my bull had a good trip. Boy, he really bucked. And Cody turned around, he said, you own him? I said, yeah.
Important guy.
Yep.
He said, I want him at the national finals. And I said, okay. I said, I'll have him there. So we took him out there, and we got one out on him that year. They give us, I think, $500 an out. Now, the last time I took him 5 years in a row. Cody had picked him 5 years in a row, and we had he was out 3 times the last year. But
now, did he go to the PBR?
yeah, the finals.
Oh, that was the finals you were
That
talking
was
about.
at the
Okay, I
finals.
was thinking of the NFR.
No,
That last year he made it. How much were they paying per out?
1,500.
1,500.
Yeah, and they furnished us a place to stay and some of our meals and always housed the bulls in the best places, and they'd ask you what kind of feed you wanted, what kind of hay you wanted. If you wanted alfalfa, you got alfalfa. If you wanted steam-rolled oats, that's what they had for you.
Now, some of them bulls that had been around each other, I guess you could put them in the same pen, but did you have to keep a bull like that by himself?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah, he was always by himself.
Did you haul him out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and a boy by the name of Kevin Foreman, we hauled him. Sometimes we'd take Kevin's truck, sometimes we'd take ours, but he liked to travel. He'd stand up the whole trip, stick his horn out through the slats, and just lean on the side. That's how way he rode. He was just as comfortable. And when you stopped to get gas, he'd lay down. But,
did it bother you when somebody'd ride him, or?
Nah, that's part of it.
Just part of it.
If you can't take them getting the road, you don't want to take them.
Especially the PBR.
Yeah, especially with these Brazilians.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They cheat them so bad.
What do they do to them to cheat them?
They soak them. They'll go back in the back, and they'll pull that rope into them where they can't breathe. And then when they come out, they'll have that rope sucked in them. And they ride their style of rope, and they lean away from that and stick the off spur in the knot and ride them. That's how they get so many of them rode.
They're not supposed to do that, are they?
No, but that's why I say they cheat them.
Well, why do they let them get back there in the back and pull those ropes on them?
Well, they're not supposed to. And the only time Splat was ever rode by a Brazilian, Ed Caminas, he was a world's champion. He had him the last out he ever had at the finals, and he got him rode barely. He bucked him off right at the whistle. And there was another bull rider that retired that year, and he busted his head on the gate coming out, and then bucked him off at the end of the ride. And he didn't make the whistle, but they put an article in the PBR magazine about the bull with the most heart and the cowboy with the most try.
Them PBRs, they're a little different than a regular rodeo, ain't they?
Yeah.
The way they run them.
Yeah.
They bring your bull whatever kind of hay they want and whatever kind of feed they want.
Right.
Hell, the bulls are as big a stars as the riders there,
Yeah.
it seems like.
yeah.
Rock stars.
We've pulled in places, and we'd have people getting out with cameras. Mm-hmm. We'd have to sit there and wait till they got through taking pictures in the trailer. They just loved to take pictures of him.
Did you get a lot of calves out of him?
Yeah.
Any of them as good as he, or?
I had two out of a bull we called Blue Fly. He bucked right before J.B. Mooney rode Bruiser at Tulsa. He bucked he was the out before him, and he really bucked. Kid was like almost 89 points on him, but he was always 87 to 90 points, 91 once.
Isn't it amazing, Cody? You've seen these yearlings now, the way they buck them. They put that deal on them.
Yeah.
That'll, you know, and they even do heifers now too. You know, because I guess if she bucks good, that put her in the breeding program. You know.
Well, they used to do that just to make a good contest out of it. There was a guy named Jerry Kopp that lived at Claremore that had an indoor arena, and he would have a heifer buck out and a bull buck out, buck them from year-olds and 2-year-olds and 3.
But I mean, some of them things I've seen pictures, they'd be bucking way up over their head, you know, and heifers, you know, and you think, boy, that'd be one you'd want to breed your bull to. You'd think.
You think? And don't they have contests with that now, Danny,
Yes.
where you can actually put your bull up against other bulls with this dummy deal? And
Yeah.
Well, the ABBI's, American Buck and Bull Association, that's you've got to belong to it, and they have these. Some of them pay a couple $100,000.
They're a pretty big deal, but the worst part about it is they're judging them probably. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of politics in that, just like any other
Most of them
judge.
have 4 judges out there, and they judge it. And if you've got a big name, you're going to get more points. Cody Old started hauling them bulls to that thing, and his bulls kept trying to jump out. And Cody Lambert asked me why I wouldn't haul to them. I said, I don't want to dope up my bulls like that. Oh, he said, he don't dope them up. I said, you draw blood on them. See, I said, you can draw blood on my bulls every day, but I'll guarantee you, their bulls have got the dope in them. And they did. They down there, the big one that paid $200,000, they drawed blood on the top 5 bulls, and they all were doped up.
What were they doping them up for?
Gunpowder or something. Who knows?
Make them buck.
Make them buck, just to
Yeah.
fire them up
Yeah.
more. I see.
And you watch these bulls today, some of them get to stand in there, and then all of a sudden their minds are fried.
Right.
If I could have took that kind of shot when I was riding, I'd been a world champion.
Right. Well, what percentage of them do they blood test now? All of them?
They
I mean,
don't-
the winners,
They're
or
not
or just-
testing any of them anymore.
so they can just hop them up as much as they want
Yeah.
to? Well, I know what you mean about them in the chute. Some of them just you don't think you're ever going to be able to get out on them,
Yeah.
and stuff. That might just be the bull. It might be something else.
That
working
might
on
have
them.
been something I shouldn't have said, but
Well,
Don't you know, do they have a limit on how long a guy can spend in the chute now?
not in the PRCA.
Not in the PRCA.
But in the PBR, they've got a 30-second rule.
but during the finals or something, they move. They don't give them much time because
Well-
they're under a time deadline. On TV and stuff.
Well, they're hollering at them,
Yeah, they're getting after them pretty good.
but they don't. You'll see, I seen a kid the other day at one of them big rodeos, California. He sat there, and that bull just stood like an angel, and that kid never would nod his head. And they finally, the judge said, pull your rope off. I think he finally disqualified him. But
Did you take your bulls to any other events besides just the finals? Did you have to take him to a few
Yeah,
events
well,
during the
I
year
took him-
to get him
I
qualified?
took him a lot. When Cody will call you and say, hey, I need your bull at Omaha, or I need him at Des Moines or Cincinnati, or, we went to all the big ones. And
What's it like a bull riding downtown Cincinnati?
you just pull in there. Cincinnati was right on the river, and you just pulled in there, and the river's right there, and this big building is on the inside, and they've got pins. You back up, you unload, and then you got to maybe drive 2 miles to park your vehicle, but they'll come and get you. And the bulls have the best treatment at those things. And we kept them at a little old town north of Cincinnati that had a racetrack, a trotting horse track. And they had the pen set up there. We got there, we just unloaded right there, and then Cody would come out there and tell us, hey, I need yours tomorrow night or Sunday afternoon. Depends on what day he wanted you out there. And,
Did you go to the one they had over there in Madison Square Garden a few years ago?
No, I'd heard too much about Madison Square Garden. The idiots that was up there in New York, and they said they'd dart your bulls, and you'd end up with a dead bull. And
Yeah.
Might be the last rodeo event ever held there, is that PBR a few years ago.
well,
They were having trouble in New York even back in the 30s.
Yeah.
With the Humane Society and
Yeah.
stuff.
they said that when Justin then was announcing up there, they had to put a glass tube around them so they could announce without the idiots screaming at them in the back.
Well, they got all kinds in New York.
Oh, yeah.
They got all kinds in New
Oh,
York.
yeah, I got
no
a bunch
doubt
of
about it.
relation up there.
How long does the bull usually last?
Oh, that's like saying how long will a car last?
Yeah.
You put an idiot under the wheel, it ain't gonna last long. You know,
Right.
you get a little old grandma drive it, it might last you 30 years.
Right.
But you know, I'd say a good bull will last 6 or 8 years.
Right.
If he's super, super rank, he may not last that long.
That takes it out of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, they break down.
What do you guys do all day when you're waiting around on that bull riding to start at night in those big
Go
towns?
places, see sights. Most of them places you haven't been before. Go downtown. I traveled, like I said, with Justin McKee a lot. And we'd go, his dad would meet us like at Omaha. His dad was up there buying cows, and we'd go across the river and eat at the casino. And most of these places they've got casinos, and you can go around them quite a bit. In Vegas, they put us up in a casino every night.
Right.
If you don't gamble, you can have a good time and save some money.
Right. But when they put you up in a casino, what are you going to do?
Boy, yeah, I was working out there in Vegas one time, Jimbo, and it lasted 2 days before they bankrupted me.
Right.
Before they bankrupted me, I was down to the 99-cent ham and eggs over there at that one casino the rest of the week.
Yeah. It's hard to walk around out there without doing something, playing.
Well, yeah, I was up real big, and I was doing good, playing some roulette, and they said, "Hey, sir, let me go get you one of these players' cards." And when they came back, I didn't have a nickel left to my name.
Didn't need a player's card.
No, I didn't even need it.
Yeah.
That's one reason they go 24 hours a day.
Right. If you were starting a Mount Rushmore of bucking bulls, need 4 PBR bulls. Need 4 PBR bulls put on it. Ooh, what would you put on it?
He can't put Tornado on there because he wasn't
No, I
in the
know.
PBR.
He wasn't in the PBR. Blueberry wine
That's a good one.
would be my bodacious.
That's big time.
Big time.
Yeah.
You can't put Oscar on there. He wasn't in the PBR.
Oscar had some sons that were very good. 105, Dale Halls. He was an awful good bull. He got crippled, broke a leg, and Dale brought him back, and he was still good. But he had a lot of heart. And there was a Hereford bull, and I can't think of his name now, that was really good, and he was a pure Hereford, but turned back right in the latch, and he was a world champion bull, I think 3 years in a row.
What about that little yellow jacket?
Little Yellow Jacket won the world 3 times. He was very good bull. He was kind of a freak. He had a Wallering pattern to him. He never did stay right solid like you'd want one. I think Cody Custer may have rode him a couple times. Was maybe one of the only ones that got him rode twice.
That Mudslinger, he was a heck of a bull.
Mudslinger,
They had a lot of big scores on him.
they had a lot of big scores on him, but they give him the Bucking Bull of the Year title, and they kind of admitted that he never won it, but they wanted him to have it before he died, so they give it to him that one year. But his calves bucked, and bucked better than he did. There was a bull called Houdini that was really good and produced. His calves really produced.
So they can usually pass, a lot of time pass that on.
Mm-hmm. Splat passed his on. Practically every calf, bull calf that was born out of him, bucked. And some of them was, I took 5 of different ones to the PBR at different times. That bull I called Blue Fly, well, he was very seldom rode. We had a bull called Bad Bow that was out of Splat and bodacious heifer or cow. And I had him rode twice in 7 years.
You know, it's wild. You can't buy a T-shirt of your favorite bull rider at a PBR, but you can get a stuffed animal of your favorite bucking bull.
Yeah.
I know.
That's
They
right.
got that backwards or something.
Well,
Or yeah,
they should be adding the riders in on that
right,
deal.
for sure.
Or they should be bringing their own deal, kind of like the
Yeah, set
NASCAR
up out
guys
there and
just
just-
doing their own setup.
Yeah. They call that NIL, name, image, and likeness in football now. You know, the Supreme Court said you could do it.
Can't get an action figure of your favorite rider, but you can get one of your favorite bull.
Right.
That's fun. That's fun.
How many bulls? You ever just think about going to sale and just buying them old bulls and flanking them up, take them home, flank them, see if they buck?
That's the way it used to start.
Yeah.
We had a man up there in our country named John Nunley. And John Nunley had a little old arena on a slope in his backyard, and he would buy all the buck. That was a killer buyer, and he'd buy all the bulls and take them home, and kids would go over there and buck them out. Some of them bucked, some of them didn't. If they didn't buck, they was going on to killers anyway. So, you know, it worked out good for him. And if they really bucked, he'd sell them. Willie Mandel and David Bailey and guys like that.
What's a good bucking bull worth nowadays?
These young bulls, they tell me they're getting over 100,000 for them. That's,
What do you do to make up $100,000 when you buy a bull? How's that pay you back?
well, I don't want my wife to hear me, but because she still gets mad. I turned down 100,000 for Splat at Omaha, Nebraska, and when I told her, she's still mad today. And I had a bull we called Coyote that I bucked in the PBR. And I throwed Ronaldo Nunez off in 2 jumps, and the boy that come over here, I can't even think his name, but he won 3 world titles in the PBR Brazilian. I bucked him off in 2 jumps. They offered me $40,000 for that bull at Omaha and at not Omaha, at Des Moines and Cincinnati. The same guy that's from up in Ohio, he just come begging me to sell him. I wouldn't do it. I finally sold him I got 82 cents for him at Caulfield's Sale Barn.
Yeah, I turned down some money like that on a horse one time, Jimbo, and I crippled him the next day.
That's a cowboy's life story, though.
Yep.
Wouldn't have it any other way. Oh, shoot.
I haven't turned down much profit since then.
No.
They're hard to come by, though. They're hard to come by, I would think.
Well, I've got Splat's head on my back porch, sitting there in the corner.
Did you have him taxidermied or?
Well, no, I just had it done that bone
Yeah.
on bone.
Yeah.
And
What do they call that? That's
European?
European
European
mount.
mount, yeah, that's what I had done to him.
Yeah.
And I've got a taxidermist that just lives 2 miles from me.
Your wife says that's a $100,000 European mount.
Yeah, yeah.
Me and Jimbo actually held Tornado's horns the other day.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It seems like the other day.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, they the shoulders they were cleaning out their tack trailer one day. They said after a rodeo, and MP said, "Well, Jim said, well, there's old Tornado's horns right there." When something happened to him, they chopped his horns off and kept them. And
Well, he was supposed to, and that may be a true story.
Yes.
But he was supposed
they're
to
hanging
be,
up at the Chamber of Commerce
he's
in
supposed to be
Henrietta.
buried at the Hall of Fame in Oklahoma City, up on the hill.
Yeah.
They have a big deal to him there.
They don't. He didn't have his whole head. It was just skull plate, you know. And
Yeah,
the
it was just the
down.
horns only.
Yeah,
Just the horns only.
Okay.
And they had the buck and shoot from the NFR that Freckles rode him out of.
I was there the night Freckles rode him.
Was you?
We talked to the guy that took the famous picture of him the other day. What was it like that night when Freckles rode old Tornado?
Oh, you couldn't hear yourself even talk. It was an amazing ride. Just, boy, he bucked and Freckles rode him. It just plain and simple. It was a great bull ride. And Tornado wasn't one to get by. He'd set you up and then buck you off.
Yeah.
And I didn't think Freckles had a chance, and I was sitting there just drinking a soda and thought this is going to be pretty quick. Next thing I know, the whistle blowed, and he was still there. It was quite a ride. But everybody there got up, was a hooping and a hollering and patting Freckles on the back. And then Jim Charles rode him the last night, rode him easier than Freckles rode him, and you never heard about him.
I know. That's
Freckles, they wrote a song about him.
right. That's just
But
bad timing, wasn't
But Jim Charles never did.
it? Right.
Yeah, I didn't even know anything about the Jim
I know.
Charles
I
ride.
already know who Jim Charles was.
You're going to have to write a song about him, Jimbo.
I guess.
Well, he rode him the last night of
Probably
the,
don't.
of the finals.
Well, that's some lost rodeo history right there.
Of course, a lot of that Freckles was getting up there in years. He shouldn't even been riding bulls.
46,
Yeah.
I think.
He did some of his best riding when other guys had long quit, you know. That's
Yeah.
what made him so popular.
He just couldn't hang it up, though. He loved the rodeo life.
He was still beating them, though, too.
It's tough to hang it up if you're still beating them, isn't
I
it?
know.
Yeah. He was very good.
And a real nice guy, wasn't he?
Very nice.
Everything I've ever heard
I've
about
seen
him.
him at Ponca City. He come in in a little airplane, and at Ponca City, the airport is right behind the rodeo grounds. And
Got a good Mexican food joint there, too.
I seen this guy with this bag over his back running across this airport, and I thought, who is this nut running? I said, the rodeo ain't started yet. When he come, he crawled over the fence. It was Freckles, and he run up there. He said, I got to pay my entry fee. And he run up there and paid his entry fee, and then somebody said something about something, and he was getting out his tack, and he said, oh, I left something in my plane. And back over there he went. And it was probably 300 or 400 yards. And he run all the way back to his plane, got what he's needing, and run back. And then rode a pretty good bull there. That was. But you know, Miami, Oklahoma, give Freckles $2,500 the next spring. They had their rodeo over there, and they give him $2,500 to get on Tornado again. Jim had the stock, and he was entered in the bull riding, but he got on Tornado first and rode him easier than he rode him the second time. And then he had a little old Rojo Bremer bull in the draw, and he fell off of him out there about 6 jumps.
I didn't know nothing about the second matchup with
I didn't either.
Freckles and Tornado.
I think it was the JCs or the something group in Miami give him the $2,500 to get on him.
That's big money.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it was them.
Well, I can't
rodeo
believe this.
history. I know.
Done found out some more rodeo history today.
The
Couple
things
things.
you'll learn on the Cowboys of the Osage podcast.
Freckles Brown, they gave old Tornado a rematch with him, and he didn't fare any better the second time than he did the first time.
Nope.
I'll be dang. What about Bob Wagner? Did you know him?
Yeah, I just knew of him, and he'd come to Buck's some, and we'd go to a few rodeos together, but he was almost impossible to buck off a bull. He never spurred bulls much, but he'd just sit there and just stick them spurs in and ride them. And he could ride a bad dude. And he should have been a world champion that never was.
I think he was once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
62.
Yeah, 62. He won
I
it
didn't
once.
think he ever
Yeah, I
was.
think he was runner-up several times.
Yeah,
though.
runner up
He-
several times.
He was runner-up the first
That's what-
first national finals, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jim
yeah, I
Shoulder
knew he was-
beat him at the first one.
Yeah, he sure could have been. Didn't remember him ever winning it, but
Yeah.
He took a case. He started his own rodeo company, Jimbo, and I know you know this. And somehow he started butting heads with the PRCA over his rodeo company. I think they said, they enter his rodeos, they couldn't enter their rodeos. And he took it all the way to the Supreme Court. The Bob Wagner Supreme Court rodeo case, but he lost. So.
Lost. He'd probably win it now, the way things have changed.
No, they tried about the same thing again. I think it almost went to the Supreme Court, this ERA association they started a few years ago, and ended up being, everything stood up and withheld there too. But anyway, I don't know too many people that took a case all the way to the Supreme Court.
Not too many bull riders.
Not too many cowboys could ever even think about doing something like that. I still can't get over this Freckles Brown riding Tornado a second time over in Miami, Oklahoma. Put on by the JCs over there.
Yeah, that's the first I've ever heard of that.
We're going to have to do a lot more in depth on this deal.
I don't.
Good Lord, Jimbo. I can't believe you didn't know about that.
I know. I'm supposed to be a historian.
I know. Didn't know about the second meeting. I got to call and ask MP about that.
Yeah.
They were in today.
I know.
Lori Shoulders.
I saw her name on the sign-in book.
Good thing we started getting Jim's display done in here.
Right.
Well, you got anything else for old Danny today?
I'll just appreciate him driving over today because we've really enjoyed your stories, and you're quite the legend.
What do you do now, Danny?
I'm retired.
What do you hang out at the truck stop and hang out at the sale barn?
Well, and I do dialysis 3 times a week. You probably don't know what that is.
I know it has something to do with something.
Well, if you ain't got no kidneys, which I don't have, due to probably bronchs and bulls, you either die or go do dialysis 3 times a week.
How long does it take a session?
4 hours a day.
Isn't that something?
I go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Go for 4 hours. I'll be there in the morning, 5 o'clock, and in the morning, and get out about 10.
That's better than dying, so you keep doing them, Danny.
Well, I either do it or you last 7 days.
Yeah.
Chub ever tell you about what happened that night?
Which night?
The one night.
Yeah. But I can't repeat it.
That's fair enough.
Not on the air.
What about that other Buck Rutherford story you were going to tell us? The one where he did that wild deal? I'm just kidding you. You said you couldn't repeat it. Couldn't repeat it. There's too many kids watching it.
Yeah, if Buck did it, it was wild.
I'm trying to trick something out of him, Jimbo.
Right, couldn't do it.
He's got too many good stuff.
Right. Some stuff you just got to keep under your hat.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, we sure appreciate you coming on today, Danny.
Well, I enjoyed it.
I know a lot of people. He's been one of our most requested guests we've ever had, Jimbo.
For sure.
I've had people call me left and right. They even sent me his telephone number the other day.
Who did that?
Well, I'm going to keep my secrets too, Jim. Danny, if you're going to keep yours, I'm keeping mine. Got to keep that under my hat.
Right.
But it was Justin Shipley is what his name was.
Oh,
Kid
Justin.
from over there at Horseshoe.
Yep, know him well.
The tractor guy.
Yep.
Mike Maddox, he called me also, wanted you on. So
Yeah, I know Mike.
you've been and he didn't disappoint.
No, did not disappoint.
I still can't get over the second meeting with Tornado and Freckles. There needs to be a book written just about that. Holy moly. I bet there's some sort of documents over there, all kinds of newspaper articles, everything. It was a big deal that week.
Yeah, but some of that stuff just gets lost into history, and
Yeah.
I'm glad we're keeping it alive.
That's right. All right, everybody.
What's this on?
Well, good thing he asked. I'll tell everybody. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and some other ones. I don't even know what they are.
I don't
So
know.
we'll get you an entire list. Be sure to like and share it and recommend it to everybody. It's on everything. We'll let you know. It'll be out probably this Thursday, Danny.
Okay.
All right, man. Well, everybody, we'll see you next week. This has been a great edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast. We sure appreciate you coming on, Danny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
See you next week, Jimbo.
You bet.
All right.
I'll be here.
See y'all later.
Old told stories like long lost friends. Rodeos and late night bends. History before our time. Round pens and pasture rides. Cowboys of the Osage.